The first thing I learned about the Varelian Empire was that silence could be more terrifying than gunfire. When our ship was pulled from hyperspace, there were no warning shots, no threatening broadcasts, no heroic last stand. One moment we were drifting through the violet corridors beyond the Perseus Veil, and the next, gravity folded inward like a clenched fist. The stars smeared into ribbons. Every alarm screamed at once. Then nothing. The engines died. The lights dimmed, and the vast alien vessel emerged around us, not approaching so much as revealing itself, as if it had been there all along, and we had only now been allowed to notice it. I was a xenolinguist, not a soldier. My hands were trained for symbols and sounds, not weapons. I had signed on to the Aurora's reach because I believed first contact could still be peaceful, even after everything humanity had lost in the outer colonies. I was wrong about many things. They boarded us without opening a door. The air shimmered, folded inward, and tall figures stepped to reality itself. Their armor was pale silver, grown rather than forged, with faint pulses of bioluminescent light running beneath the surface. Their faces were partially hidden behind crystalline veils, but I could feel their eyes on me, sharp, assessing, ancient. We were disarmed, restrained, and separated in minutes. I was taken alone. The corridor they led me through was not metal, but something closer to bone and glass fused together. It responded to our presence, subtly reshaping itself as we passed, as if the ship were alive and mildly curious. Finally, we entered a vast chamber that took my breath away. The ceiling stretched impossibly high, opening into a dome of transparent crystal that revealed a nebula swirling outside like slow-motion fire. Platforms floated in the air, connected by arcs of light. At the center stood a throne grown from dark crystal and living matter, and upon it sat the alien queen. She was taller than any human, but not monstrous. Her form was elegant, almost painfully so. Her skin shimmered like obsidian dusted with starlight. Long, crown-like structures rose naturally from her head, curving backward in graceful arcs. Her eyes, those eyes, were pools of molten gold, ancient and impossibly aware. This was Queen Erenval, ruler of the Varelian Empire, conqueror of 12 star systems, and, according to intercepted human intelligence, the being who decided whether entire species were allowed to exist. She regarded me in silence. I was pushed forward, forced my knees. "Human," she said at last. Her voice was not loud, but it carried through the chamber, resonating in my bones. It was layered, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect harmony. "You stand before your superior. Speak your designation." "My name is Elias Rowan," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Xenolinguist. Civilian." Her gaze flickered with faint interest. "A speaker of tongues," she mused. "Your kind sends words where it should send strength." I swallowed. Words are how understanding begins. A faint ripple passed through the chamber. Amusement or disdain? She rose from her throne and descended the steps toward me. Every movement was controlled, precise, and terrifying. When she stopped, she was close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. She tilted her head. "Human," she said softly, "your species is fragile, violent, and painfully brief. Yet you persist. Tell me why." I hesitated. Any wrong answer could doom us all. "Because we believe life has meaning," I said. "Even short lives." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Belief she said. Such a weak foundation. She turned, pacing slowly in a circle around me, her long cloak trailing behind her like living shadow. Your people find many things beautiful, she continued. Stars, worlds, each other. Yet you destroy them with equal passion. She stopped in front of me again. Tell me, human, she said, her voice dropping. Who do you find beautiful? The question hit me harder than any threat. The chamber was silent. Every Varelian guard turned their attention to me. I understood in that moment that this was not idle curiosity. This was a test of values, of perception, of whether humanity was worth remembering. I could have said my people. I could have said the stars. I could have lied. Instead, I looked up at her. I find those who choose mercy beautiful, I said. Those who carry power and still hesitate to use it. The queen froze. For the first time since I had entered that chamber, her composure cracked. Just slightly. An interesting answer, she said slowly, and a dangerous one. She turned away, her cloak swirling. Take him to the observation quarters, she commanded. I will decide his fate later. As the guards pulled me to my feet, I realized something chilling. I had not answered her question safely. I had answered it honestly. The observation quarters were not a prison, at least not in the way humans understood it. There were no bars, no restraints. Instead, the room was open, circular, and surrounded by transparent walls that looked out into deep space. The stars were closer here, brighter, too close. A Varelian attendant, tall, slender, and far less imposing than the guards, explained in clipped tones that I would be observed, studied, and questioned further. Resistance would be inefficient. Days passed, or what I assumed were days. Time aboard the Varelian flagship flowed differently, measured in pulses of energy rather than rotations. Queen Errant did not summon me again immediately. Instead, others came. Scholars, strategists, genetic analysts. They asked about human art, human warfare, human love. They were fascinated by our contradictions, how we could write poetry in one moment and commit atrocities in the next. I answered everything truthfully, and through it all, I felt her presence. She watched from unseen places. I could sense it, an attention like gravity, subtle but inescapable. When she finally returned, it was unexpected. I was standing near the transparent wall, watching a blue star collapse in slow motion when her reflection appeared beside mine. Do you still find mercy beautiful, human? She asked. I turned, startled, and dropped to one knee instinctively. Yes, I said, even more now. She studied me quietly. You know, she said, that mercy is considered a flaw among my people. I know, I replied. That's why it matters. Her eyes searched my face, as if peeling back layers I didn't know I had. You are unafraid, she observed. I am terrified, I said honestly. But fear doesn't change what's true. Something in her expression shifted. Curiosity deepening into something more dangerous. She began to visit often after that. Sometimes she questioned me. Sometimes she simply stood beside me, watching stars die and be born. She spoke of her empire, how it had risen from extinction-level wars, how weakness had nearly destroyed them. Mercy almost ended us, she said once. Strength saved us. Strength without restraint becomes cruelty, I replied. She did not argue. Instead, She challenged me, presenting scenarios, moral dilemmas, simulations of planetary conquest. Each time, she waited for my answer, not as a ruler judging a subject, but as a mind testing another mind. Slowly, dangerously, a connection formed. I learned that Aerith had ascended the throne young. After her predecessor, her mother, had been assassinated by rivals who believed mercy made the empire vulnerable. Since then, Aerith had ruled with calculated severity, determined never to repeat that mistake. You remind me of who I was, she admitted one cycle, her voice quiet, before I learned what mercy costs. And you remind me, I said carefully, that power doesn't erase responsibility. Her gaze lingered on me longer than necessary. The court noticed. Whispers spread. The guards grew more alert. Advisors began to appear during our conversations, their eyes sharp with suspicion. Then came the news that changed everything. A Virelian fleet had reached the edge of human-controlled space. The invasion was imminent. You could stop it, I said when she told me. She looked away. If I do, they will see it as weakness. They'll see it as wisdom, I insisted, or at least restraint. She turned back to me, eyes burning. You believe your species deserves survival. I believe, I said, that we deserve the chance to become better. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she asked again quietly, who do you find beautiful, human? I met her gaze. I find you beautiful, I said, not because of your power, but because you're still fighting yourself. The words hung in the air like a blade. For a long moment, I thought I had signed humanity's death warrant. Then the Queen laughed. It was soft, brief, almost human. You are either the bravest being I have ever met, she said, or the most foolish. Sometimes, I said, those are the same. Ending. The council chamber was filled with tension. Virelian high lords floated on platforms of light, their forms radiating barely restrained hostility. Holographic projections of human worlds hovered in the air, fragile blue and green spheres marked for conquest. Queen Aerith stood at the center, and beside her, unthinkably, I stood free. You summon us for delay, one lord hissed. The fleets are ready. They will remain so, the queen replied calmly. A ripple of shock passed through the chamber. I have reached a decision, she continued. Humanity will not be eradicated. Outrage erupted. They are weak. They will rise against us. They are nothing. Aerith raised her hand, and silence fell like a guillotine. They are potential, she said, and potential is the rarest resource in the galaxy. She gestured to me. This human showed me something we forgot, she said, that strength is not proven by destruction alone. The council argued, threatened, demanded tradition. Aerith listened. Then she did something unprecedented. She stepped down from the throne. I will not rule an empire that fears mercy, she said. If that makes me unworthy, so be it. The chamber went still. No one challenged her. The fleets were recalled. A treaty was drafted, uneasy, fragile, but real. I was returned to human space weeks later, carrying words instead of weapons. As I stood aboard a human station, watching the Virelian flagship vanish into hyperspace, I wondered if I would ever see her again. Then my communicator activated. One final message appeared, encoded in symbols only I would recognize. You asked who you find beautiful, it read. I am still learning my answer. I smiled. In a galaxy built on fear and conquest, an alien queen had hesitated, and that hesitation, small, fragile, defiant, was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen.